Hello there. Welcome back to Paranormal Experience Radio. I am Kat Hobson, your host, joined by Marie D. Jones, who is just one of my favorite people. And we have been having a fantastic time. We've been discussing the last segment, disaster survival, and it has been fantastic. But I cannot let you leave this show, Marie, without asking you this question, and it's from Resonance Key. And I want to know what 0 point grid is.
It's kind of a term that I meshed together with Larry Flaxman, who co-wrote the book with me. Mm-hmm. The 0 point field is
field or grid?
Yeah, we know the 0 point field is sort of a foundational vibrational state of matter.
Okay.
The grid, so it's sort of like the vibrating quantum particles that sort of pop in and out of existence. The 0 point field is considered a ground state of matter, energy, whatever, from which form takes place. It's like if you were to equate it with something religious, it might be like the kingdom of heaven.
Okay.
The morphic fields. It's just sort of a generative foundational state. The grid is a visual concept that Larry and I came up with for reality, because we feel like, with all of the research that we've done individually and together, reality, the foundational state of reality that we can't see but we're immersed in, is like a grid. There's different levels. There's different layers. There are things that connect one level to another. So we sometimes might be accessing other parts of that grid through those connectors. And that can result in things like precognition, deja vu, remote viewing, psychic abilities, time travel, interdimensional entities that we might be dealing with, whether, ghosts or demons or what have you. Possibly the ability of UFOs or craft from other civilizations to be able to get from one parallel universe to our universe. So that's just, the 0 point grid became for us a sort of visual symbol of, excuse me, there goes the allergies, of reality, and how reality isn't just one layer, it's multi-layered. And sometimes when we have a paranormal experience, we're accessing other layers of that grid somehow. We're trying, all of us, to understand what those little mechanisms are that connect us from maybe level A or layer A to layer C when we see a ghost or when we have a precognitive vision or dream. So that's kind of what the concept is about.
Well, that's interesting to me because, you've got the deja vu enigma as well. And you also have the grid exploring the hidden infrastructure.
Grid is like an expansion of that. We kind of started writing. We wrote about the 0 point grid in Resonance Key, and then it was like, oh, we really want to dig into that more. So we wrote the grid a couple of years.
Okay, so Resonance Key came first.
Yeah.
Okay, because the grid blew me away.
I love that book.
I did too.
I love it. I don't think it it didn't sell the way we thought it would. I think it was a little too much for some people in the paranormal field who were kind of like, huh? But I thought it was groundbreaking, because what we did in that book is we realized that there are external and there are internal forces at work. There are environmental and there are physiological forces at work that allow people to perceive paranormal phenomena. And that explains why one person, you could be standing side by side with someone and one person will have an experience and the other person won't. Because there are physiological things in one person that are aligning perfectly with their environment, with the external, that allow them to see a ghost, that allow them to see an apparition, that allow them to do this or that, and the other person is just not synced up in the same way. And that's really what we were trying to explore there. If reality is multi-layered like a grid, why is it that some people seem to be able to travel that grid and experience different levels of reality, but some other people can't?
Well, a case in point there would be Andrea Perrin.
Right, exactly.
Who is very much able to do things that the average bear can't do. And we have 2 questions for you. Can you handle that?
Sure.
I'm going to ask the second one first. I'm going to save the other one for later. But Mary in chat says, is the grid affected by the Mandela effect?
Well, I think everything, is part of the grid. It's the Mandela effect could be some kind of time anomaly where things are happening in one timeline and we're getting a glimpse of it, but it didn't happen in our timeline. It's almost like, to me, deja vu could be a similar type of phenomenon, but we're getting a glimpse of ourselves in a parallel universe, saying the same thing that we're saying to the same person, but just a little bit ahead, maybe like a fraction of a second ahead. So the Mandela effect definitely seems like a time anomaly that's occurring between 2 different levels of reality. In one reality, we think so-and-so died, and I swear I have experienced this.
Yes.
Or but in the reality that we're all accepting as the one in front of us, that person is alive. But enough of us remember that death, and we remember seeing the funeral on TV and blah, blah, blah. So are we getting some crosstalk between...
And seeing Sinbad in a movie.
Yeah, between timelines, between parallel universes, between multiple levels of reality. When I was growing up, CBs were all the rage, and all the truckers had them, but a lot of people just wanted to have a CB because it was cool. And what always interested me was the crosstalk. You'd be talking to somebody, or you'd be listening to a really strong signal, and there would be another voice that would come in, another conversation that would kind of cut in. And this happens with ham radio too.
Yes,
and
it
I
does.
have
I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, so this kind of crosstalk in terms of the paranormal or the grid could be little glimpses of those other realities kind of seeping or leaking into ours, and vice versa. Our reality could be leaking into theirs too.
I think that's probably the case. I mean, nothing is in a void.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is what I think currently fascinates me more than anything, and I call it the liminal experiences. I love the word liminal. It means threshold. And, a lot of us have these experiences where we know we're not really grounded in this reality. It may only last for a couple of seconds, but we are somewhere else, or we're seeing or experiencing something that is coming from another level of reality. And then boom, it's gone. Because, this stuff doesn't last a long time, and it's very erratic. It's very inconsistent. And I think that's even more proof that it's coming from other levels of reality, because if we were able to access it all the time, we would really never be able to function in the one that is, before us, that we really need to function in.
Well, I could see that. It's interesting because I have deja vu to the point of making life experiences based on it. I trust.
Really? So it's like precognitive, or do you get vision? Oh, wow. Okay, and,
and I had a neuropsychiatrist and his therapist assistant who wanted to test me with this stuff because, I was having panic attacks as a result of some of it, and it was an odd thing, but it's weird how hard it is to stay awake when somebody's trying to do an EEG on you.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But the way that my brain fires is weird. And when they first asked me, the intake interviews about stuff like that, the guy was like, well, how often do you do this? I said, well, like everybody else. I mean, I was in my 20s. I didn't want to be weird. And he said, well, but how often? I said, just like, I mean, there's nothing unusual about this.
Right, right.
And so he said, so once a year, once every few months, once a month. I said, a few times a day.
Wow.
And, and he was like, oh, we've got to get this test done.
Yeah.
But I didn't see anything unusual about that. Right?
No,
because it had
for you,
happened all my life.
Right. It's a part of your normal.
It was my normal. But I knew when I would feel it, if I was doing this one thing, I knew what the outcome would be. And if it worked, in my head, I knew that if it had worked, follow that path. And if it didn't, find anything else.
Yeah.
And it really did. I think I can think of 3 specific times that it saved my life.
Wow.
So
it's good to have the intelligence to, to listen to it. It's like intuition. A lot of us have it, but we don't listen to it.
Right. So that's why, your Deja Vu Anomaly book is the one that I'm buying next, because I haven't read it.
Yeah,
and
it's very
I think I
interesting.
should.
Yeah, the power of the mind is just, pun intended, mind-boggling.
That was good.
It really
I got to
is.
give you that one.
Yeah, the inner universe.
But, I mean, it is the universe. We all carry it within us. We're part of it. It's part of us.
I honestly think it's, the Star Trek talks about the final frontier, but I really think that the final frontier is within us.
Sure.
We think about the universe, but geez, our own minds, our consciousness, that goes deep, and we know so little about it.
Well, because to get to, everybody wants to take it apart to learn about it. Maybe you should try going into it and becoming one with it to learn this.
Yeah.
There's ways to do that. And there are measurable ways to do that. You don't have to tear things apart to understand them all the time.
No, but we do have to slow down and get rid of the distractions.
Yes.
Right? And we talked about that earlier. Nobody wants to do that.
And synchronicity, coming up toward the end of the show, we come back to the beginning. Don't you love that?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I'm going to ask you this other question now, because we've only got 2 minutes, and I want you to have a chance to answer it. And you're going to have to tell everybody all the wonderful things that you have going on.
Oh, my gosh. Do I?
If you want to.
So
the question...
Oh, go ahead.
The question is, and I'm interested in this because you're doing all the things. Where does Marie see her career heading in the future?
I want to write more novels, and I'm actually getting into independent filmmaking. The reason
you have one out, right?
I have a short film that I just did, and I'm writing my first feature, which will be shot in November here in San Diego. And I'm still going to be writing nonfiction. I have 3 books coming out within the next year and a half, all, paranormal oriented. But nonfiction is wonderful, but fiction allows me to explore all of these same ideas and concepts, but in a more expansive way, where I'm not really beholden to facts and statistics and truths and theories, and I get to use my imagination. And I started out writing fiction, so I'm trying to bring myself back to doing a lot more of that.
Well, I'm excited by that. I can't wait to read it.
But I still got, 3 books coming. My next one is called Celebrity Ghosts and Notorious Hauntings. It doesn't get any more paranormal than that.
Well, I have had a good time. One of my friends founded the Hollywood Ghost Hunters.
Oh, okay. I think I might mention them in the book, or some of their cases, or...
Well, they're wonderful.